going to be part 2 of our Milwaukee 2.5 gallon wireless conversion. Again, we went over our goals of the video and what we're doing basically in the previous video. Again, links will be in the description. We'll try to have them pop up on screen for that previous video as well. At this time, what we're going to be doing is doing a little bit of electrical. We're going to try to make everything, tidy and neat for our purposes. We went over each individual component and piece in the previous video, so if you want to know what this is, go ahead and check out that previous video. But for our purposes, the wires here are not going to be long enough for what we need to do, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to extend these out, and we're going to be using some cool things to do that, and I'll show you how and what we're using right now. We're going to begin by extending the test leads now. We're going to be using some wire that I had previously saved from a other project. We're going to go ahead and remove that exterior insulation to get to the wiring on the inside. And we're going to only use probably about 6 to 8 inches, give or take, of each wire to basically extend these out. So we're going to go ahead and strip the ends out and twist them together. And what we're going to actually use to twist them together and make everything, secure, soldered together, and have a good connection, we're going to actually use soldering. So for those of you guys who may not know what they are, it's a piece of heat shrink tubing that has solder in the middle of it. So basically all you have to do is twist the wire together, you'll slide over your solder link, and you're going to use a heat gun instead of soldering and using a heat soldering iron, needing a butane torch or anything similar. And all you have to do is just heat it up, and as you heat it up, you can see right here the heat shrink's going to begin to shrink down. Those colored rings right there are going to melt, and they're actually going to make it waterproof as well. And then once you get it hot enough, that solder as well starts to shrink up right there, and it actually gets pulled into the wiring with the heat shrink and begins to waterproof, as well as solder that connection together to make sure that it's solid. So the entire assembly is now soldered, heat shrunk, and waterproof all in one go. So now it saves you a bunch of steps, as well as making everything waterproof. So these are great because you can use them interior, exterior, automotive, home, DIY. There's plenty of uses for these things. They're fantastic. Again, we're going to have links to everything that we're using and showing in the video here in the description. We're going to go ahead and use the solder link here. We're going to show you again. What we're going to do is set it up, twist the wires, and then use the heat gun to start heating it up. And you can see it's starting to shrink up. The blue rings right there are starting to melt. So now that connection is soldered, waterproof, and ready to roll. So it's really not too hard, and this is great again for automotive, for DIY. There's plenty of uses for these, but that's basically it. So we're going to notch the side of our little adapter here so we can sneak those wires right out the side, and we're going to begin applying a little bit of hot glue to secure everything together, and this way everything is waterproof and fully secured. So now we're going to be applying a little bit of hot glue here. We're going to put a little bit on it so this way it holds the wiring in place, so this way the wiring can't get pulled on or yanked on and put under stress, so this way the wire can't break off and give us an issue down the line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the hot glue as well as a screw to attach the M18 adapter onto our DeWalt adapter. This way everything's both secured with hardware as well as using glue and adhesive. And then we're going to put a perimeter bead around the entire exterior of it. This way it's going to make sure it's obviously secure, but it's also going to provide a little bit of waterproofing as well for the board that resides underneath there. So we're going to be going a little bit overboard because we want this to be durable, but you can see again running that glue, making sure everything is all set up and secure. So now after we did all that, here's what we got. So we married the tool side to the battery side, and now we also screwed it together. That hole that was down there in the middle, we were able to put a screw through, and we cut it to a custom length so it wouldn't pop through the other side. Everything still works, so the spring and the tension is still there on the release mechanisms, and everything's operating otherwise as it should. I never said it was going to be pretty, needless to say, but I mean, it'll get the job done, as you can see. Obviously, you got a little bit of hot glue kind of everywhere, but hey, it'll get the job done, it'll work as it's supposed to, and it still gets the item that we want to control, under our control and on a remote. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our tool now, which in our case is going to be the 2.5 gallon pack out, and we are going to start cutting up this and cutting the wires to length so that everything is set up to fit perfectly inside of the pack out. So now we have our shop vac here, and we have our adapter. What we want to do right now before we go any further, depending on if you get a different brand potentially of the battery adapter or the 20 volt adapter, you may have some issues with tolerances and things being a little bit larger than what we are dealing with here.
One way that you could definitely mitigate that is here on the bottom side of what would be the battery, or the top side, so to speak. You could potentially sand this and take a couple of millimeters of material off. That way you can give you back that thickness. The reason why I bring that up is because in the case of here with the tool, we're going for everything to be all-encompassing and to reside within here and here. So the idea is when everything's in and done, you can still close this and maintain the pack out functionality, but the whole tool can still be remote controlled. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take our unit that we just made, we're gonna go ahead and pop on a 5 amp hour battery into it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tuck our wires off to the side the best that we can, and we're gonna make sure that this entire assembly can click down into the tool. In our case, we're lucky and it can. We're fortunate enough where this actually is capable of working. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to notch this little assembly here. You don't necessarily need to do this. We're gonna do it just because I feel like it. We're gonna notch this assembly right here so it gives it a little bit of a good spot for the wires to pass through from this section to the battery section. Not necessarily something needed. Again, I'm just doing this for personal preference. But as you can see, you'd still be able to take all the wires, tuck them over, and still maintain that pack out functionality and have everything work. Again, honestly, with how well that works, I'm probably not going to even bother with that now that I'm thinking about it. But again, you can see that that assembly is in there and you're still maintaining the pack out functionality and the lid still closes. So now that you have all the wiring here and everything's set up as it should be, we're going to go ahead and now take that wireless control unit that we had right here, and we're going to go ahead and put this down in here. And again, so when all this is said and done and everything's wired together as it should be, you'll have the wire control unit here on the top half, you'll have the battery residing down here with the adapter, and you'll still be able to take advantage of the pack out functionality. So we're going to go ahead and do that final soldering. We're going to leave everything in the actual unit itself, so this way we can go ahead and measure the wires correctly to jump between both this and the wireless unit. And then we'll come back and we'll show you what it all looks like when it's all buttoned up. Now with everything put together and soldered up, I'm going to pop in the 20 amp fuse that we have here. So now the circuit's protected, and now everything from the fuse onward is now hot, and that's basically it. So now you have this. She ain't pretty. I never said she was going to be pretty, that's for sure. But hey, now you can take this entire assembly, right? Plug her in, take the wireless remote, pop it off to the side. Have all these wires laying flat, so say they're all, you know, free and clear of each other. Still maintain all functionality of the pack out unit itself. And now the shop vac is now wireless, and that's it. So now you can take your remote control, turn it on, and turn it off with a flick of the switch. Obviously, you gotta make sure that the unit is on. So you would take the switch that's on the side of the unit right here. You want to make sure that it's on, whatever section level you want. If you want low, low. If you want high, high. Or you could obviously take the hose off and plug it into the side here and get the blowing feature. So you can either blow or suck. So, I mean, hey, your choice how you want to roll there. But using the remote, and there you go. So now the unit, all encompassing, no modifications needed to the case at all. Again, Didn't even bother with notching out the channels here for the wires. Was still able to maintain everything basically just by hopping over like this. Otherwise, everything's operating as it should. Again, you can see we can still shove a 5 amp hour in there even with the adapter. And again, if you want to ever increase to the 12 amp hour, you'd obviously just pull this out and then you wouldn't be able to use the wireless feature. But obviously you still can if you want to use that. But it's that simple. Still closes as it should. Lock it up, and that's it. It's that simple. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to reach out to you and give you any answers or answer any questions that you might have. And that's basically it. Have a great rest of your day. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Again, at your discretion, whatever you want. Have a great rest of your day.